Hi there everybody, this is David, and I've been hearing a lot about Sultan's game in the past couple of months. So, whenever the company reached out to me to create a video around it, I jumped at the chance. I have literally heard nothing but good things about this game online, and I've been wanting to try it out for myself, and then they said, they wanted to sponsor me too, so I'm like, yeah, it's kind of like killing two birds with one stone. So today I'm here to tell you all about what Sultan's game is, what to expect, and then, my experience with it. And that's totally worth a sub as you come and you join a party and you level on up with me. Thank you so much for your sub, your like, and your brand new hype. It helps me out a ton. Because believe me, Sultan's game is one of those titles that looks pretty simple on the surface, but the second that you actually start playing it, you realize pretty quickly that you're dealing with something a lot more complicated than it first appears. Now, while Sultan's game is available for purchase over on the PC, it is now getting a direct mobile port as well, and all of the content from the PC is included in that mobile port. And also, do not get it twisted, this is not a gacha game. And the mobile version actually costs less than the PC version too. Everything's included, you buy the game, and you got it all. So now you have the freedom to play Sultan's game anytime, anywhere, and on the cheap. Now, I have played my fair share of card games before, but it was always, traditional RPGs, games like Batten Kaitos or Magi Nation. This here, though, was something completely different, because rather than just battling with cards, everything here is instead represented by a card. Now, it can be a bit much, and it can also be a little bit overwhelming, and don't expect to just kind of get it at first and let it all click, because believe me, I did not get it at first, and it did not click with me. I didn't really know what was going on, and I was really confused, and I died, and then I died again, and then I died multiple times, until it finally did click with me. This here is a game that takes practice, and it takes perseverance, and it takes getting used to, but the payoff is definitely worth it. And I've got to say, I am not the only one who thinks so either. I mean, since its release over on the PC, it has sold over 1.5 million copies, and it's also sitting at a 93% positive rating over on the Steam with more than 20,000 reviews. And the common theme in how people describe it is that it doesn't really click with you immediately. You spend the first stretch of time really confused, then it suddenly starts making sense, and then once it does, it becomes pretty hard to put down. And I've got to say, you can put me down for that because that was pretty much my experience too. So here's the premise. You're living in this sultanate inspired by 1001 Nights, and you're serving under this bored sultan who's pretty much become completely 100% detached from reality. No one dares to say a thing to him though, and he kind of goes through life bored until a mysterious magician enters his life and tells him about the sultan's game. So each day he draws a card that represents one of his desires. The usual. Wealth, conquest, lust, violence, that sort of stuff. These are the sorts of things that would normally destabilize an entire kingdom, but they're basically just reduced to entertainment because the Sultan has reached the point where nothing really means anything to him anymore. And while the Sultan doesn't really care what happens to his subjects as they become pawns in his game, everybody else, though, is rightfully terrified. But do you play as the Sultan? No. The twist is that your character gets pulled into this game, and now it becomes your job to resolve whatever card is drawn or face execution. And you only have 7 days to do it. It's kind of like how Scheherazade in 1001 Nights was threatened with death every single night, but she used her cunnings and her wits to survive. Too bad I'm not as smart as her though, because like I said, I died multiple times until I got the hang of it. Another important thing to note here is that you're not operating from a position of power either, because you're not the Sultan, you're not the Grand Vizier, you're not controlling the court, you're basically just kind of like this noble trying to survive in this twisted game. Now, actually playing Sultan's game is where things start to get really interesting because, like I said, this isn't a card battler or a deck builder like you might be thinking. You're not building up the perfect deck and then throwing your cards at enemies. The cards are basically like the entire world. They're how the game represents everything that's happening around you. Your companions are cards. Your equipment is cards. Rumors that you've heard are cards. Money is a card. Books are cards. Information is a card. And even the people living in your household are all represented by cards. And you're constantly moving them around and like combining with them to solve whatever problem the Sultan has dumped into your lap this week. So you spend every day trying to figure out how to make the most of your limited time. Maybe you're going to send one of your followers into town to gather up some information while somebody else like studies a book and then improves their skills. Or maybe you decide to go exploring because you need better equipment. Or maybe you're just trying to like build up relationships with all the various NPCs so that they'll owe you favors later. Every decision that you make costs time. And time is probably like your most valuable resource because that countdown does not stop. The Sultan doesn't care if you're almost ready, because when that week is over, the week is over. And that's just it. You face your judgment day and your execution. What I really like, though, is that the game doesn't just like hand you one solution to your problem either. Let's say the Sultan draws a bloodshed card and somebody has to die. Well, who? Do you go after like an actual criminal? Do you challenge somebody to a duel? Do you sacrifice somebody who's useful just because like that's the easiest way to survive? The game doesn't really tell you what the right answer is because there usually is not a right answer. It's constantly instead asking you to weigh in on what's going on to help you survive today against what those decisions might end up costing you later. And that's where all those cards start coming together. Those books that you've been reading to improve your characters, the rumors that you've been collecting can unlock completely different opportunities. The companions that you've recruited all have different strengths. So sending the right person to the right event can completely change how that event plays out. Some characters are great fighters, others are better at politics, others are scholars, and each of them have their own varying stats too, which you can, improve with equipment, or improve by reading books, or going out on missions and hearing rumors, stuff like that. So it doesn't take too long till you go from just like reacting to the card that you drew to instead planning several days ahead, trying to like build up a household that is capable of dealing with whatever insanity comes your way next. And that's also why dying didn't really frustrate me all that much. The first few games, I honestly had no clue what I was doing. But every time that I failed, I understood the systems just a little bit more, and started realizing why I should have invested in a certain character earlier, or why I should have held on to certain resources, or how to earn money at the household, that sort of thing. So eventually the puzzle pieces started coming together and things just kind of clicked with me. And once it did, I completely understood why so many people end up sinking dozens and dozens of hours into this game. Not only that, but there's also a huge amount of replayability built into the game because every single run is different because the Sultan's cards are always going to be different and that changes everything. On top of that, there's over 50 different endings. And those endings don't just boil down to success or failure. You can end up becoming part of the Sultan's inner circle, you can try to bring him down entirely, or anything else in between. So if this seems up your alley, Sultan's game launches on mobile devices on July the 24th, and as a full port of the PC version, it is not a stripped down adaptation, which means that all of the content is intact, just kind of rebuilt for phones and tablets. And if you want to try it out for yourself, please just do click on the links down below, because this year it's definitely one of the most more interesting games to come out in quite some time. But now, I do want to hear from you. What do you think about Sultan's game, and does it look up your alley? Let me know down in the comments, and as always, have a good day.